Hi there. We're on day 256 of our Through the Bible in a Year, and today we are doing the book of Joel. Now, I'm not sure how long it is. It's 3 chapters. Yeah, it's not terrible. It shouldn't take too long. Joel was a minor prophet, thought to have lived in and around Judah, maybe Jerusalem itself, when all this stuff was happening, about 835 BC. I don't know if it's actually before or after Ezekiel, because Ezekiel was after they were they were exiled. But it does say they're trying to do it in chronological order, which its stories and events occurred. So, which just says we really don't know, but we'll read it. The word of the Lord came to Joel, son of Pethuel. A plague of locusts. Hear this, you elders. Listen, all you inhabitants of the land. Has anything like this ever happened in your days? Now, this already happened, or in the days of your ancestors. Teach your children about it, and let your children tell their children and their children, the next generation, what the devouring locust has left, the swarming locust has eaten. What the swarming locust has left, the young locust has eaten. What the young locust has left, the destroying locust has eaten. Well, okay. Wake up, you drunkards, and weep. Wail, all you wine drinkers, because of the sweet wine, for it has been taken from your mouth. For a nation has invaded my land, powerful and without number. Its teeth are the teeth of a lion, and its fangs of the lioness. It has devastated my grapevine and splintered my fig tree. It has stripped off its bark and thrown it away. Its branches have turned white. Grieve like a young woman distressed in sackcloth. Mourning for the husband of her youth. Grain and drink offerings have been cut off from the house of the Lord. The priests who are ministers to the Lord mourn. The fields are destroyed. The land grieves. Indeed, the grain is destroyed. The new wine is dried up, and the olive oil fails. Be ashamed, you farmers. Wail, you vine dressers, over the wheat and the barley, because the harvest of the field has perished. The grapevine is dried up, and the fig tree is withered. The pomegranate, the date palm, the apple, all the trees of the orchards have withered. Indeed, human joy has dried up. Dress in sackcloth and lament, you priest. Wail, you ministers of the altar. Come and spend the night in sackcloth, you ministers of my God, because grain and drink offerings are withheld from the house of your God. Announce a sacred fast, proclaim an assembly, gather the elders and all the residents of the land at the house of the Lord your God, and cry out to the Lord. Right? Okay, day of the Lord. Woe because of that day, for the day of the Lord is near, and will come as devastation from the Almighty. Hasn't the food been cut off before your eyes, joy and gladness from the house of God? The seeds lie shriveled in their casings, the storehouses are in ruin, and the granaries are broken down, because the grain is withered away. How the animals groan, the herds of cattle wander in confusion, since they have no pasture. Even the flocks of sheep suffer punishment. I call to you, Lord, for fire has consumed the pastures of the wilderness, and the flames have devoured all the trees of the countryside. Even the wild animals cry out to you, for the riverbeds are dried up, and a fire has consumed the pastures of the wilderness. Okay, chapter 2. Blow the horn in Zion. Sound the alarm on my holy mountain. Let all the residents of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. In fact, it is near. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and dense overcast, like the dawn spreading over the mountains. And a great strong people appears, such as never existed in ages past, and will never again. Never will again. In all generations to come. A fire destroys in front of them, and behind them the flame devours. The land in front of them is like the Garden of Eden, but behind them it is like a desert wasteland. There is no escape from them. Their appearance is like that of horses, and they gallop like war horses. They bound on the tops of the mountains. Their sound is like the sound of chariots, like the sound of fiery flames consuming stubble, like a mighty army developed for war. Nations riot in horror before them. All faces turn pale. They attack as warriors attack. They scale walls as men of war do. Each goes on his own path, and they do not change their course. They do not push each other. Each man proceeds on his own path. They dodge the arrows, never stopping. They storm the city. They run on the wall. They climb into the houses, and they enter through windows like thieves. The earth quakes before them. The sky shakes. The sun and moon grow dark, and the stars cease their shining. The Lord raises his voice in the presence of his army. His camp is very large. Those who carry out his command are powerful. Indeed, the day of the Lord is terrible and dreadful. Who can endure it? Call for repentance. Even now, this is the Lord's declaration. Here we go again. Turn to me with all your heart, with fasting, weeping, and mourning. Tear your hearts, not just your clothes, and return to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and rich and faithful in love. He relents from sending disaster. Who knows, he may turn and relent and leave a blessing behind him, so you can offer grain and wine to the Lord your God. Blow the horn in Zion. Announce a sacred fast. Proclaim an assembly. Gather the people. Sanctify the congregation. Assemble the aged. Gather the children, even those nursing at the breast. Let the groom leave his bedroom, and the bride her honeymoon chamber. Let the priests and the Lord's ministers weep between the portico and the altar. Let them say, have pity on your people, Lord, and do not make your inheritance a disgrace, an object of scorn among the nations. Why should it be said among the peoples, where is their God? Okay, God's response to his people. You ready? Then the Lord became jealous for his land and spared his people. The Lord answered his people. Hey, look, I'm about to send you grain, new wine, and olive oil. You will be satiated or satisfied with them. I will no longer make you a disgrace among the nations. I will drive the northerner far from you and banish him to a dry and desolate land. His front ranks into the Dead Sea and his rear guard into the Mediterranean Sea. His stench will rise. Yes, his rotten smell will rise, for he has done catastrophic things. Don't be afraid, land. Rejoice and be glad, for the Lord has done great things. Don't be afraid, wild animals, for the wilderness pastures have turned green, and the trees bear their fruit, and the fig tree and grapevine yield their riches. Children of Zion, rejoice and be glad in the Lord your God, because he gives you the autumn rain for your vindication. He sends showers to you, both autumn and spring rain as before. The threshing floors will be full of grain, and the vats will overflow with new wine and olive oil. I will repay you for the years that the swarming locust ate, the young locust the destroying locust, and the devouring locust. My great army that I sent against you. You will have plenty to eat and be satisfied. You will praise the name of Yahweh your God, who has dealt wondrously with you. My people will never again be put to shame. You will know that I am present in Israel, and that I am Yahweh your God, and there is no other. My people will never again be put to shame. God's promise of his Spirit. Hey. After this, I will pour out my Spirit on all humanity. Then your sons and your daughters will prophesy, and your old men will have dreams. Now, you recognize this from Revelations, right? And your young men will see visions. It's all very familiar. I will even pour out my Spirit on the male and female slaves in those days. I will display wonders in the heavens and on the earth. And he's talking about days to come, okay? Blood, fire, and columns of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood. Before the great awe-inspiring day of the Lord comes. Then everyone who calls on the name of Yahweh will be saved, for there will be an escape for those on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, as the Lord promised. Among the survivors, the Lord calls. Now that's yet to come, okay? Judgment of the nations. Yes, in those days and at that time, when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem, I will gather all the nations and take them to the valley of Jehoshaphat. I will enter into judgment with them there, because my people, my inheritance, Israel. The nations have scattered the Israelites in foreign countries and divided up my land. They cast lots for my people. They bartered a boy for a prostitute and sold a girl for wine to drink. Also, Tyre, Sidon, and all the territories of Philistia. What are you to me? Are you paying me back and trying to get even with me? I will quickly bring retribution on your heads. For you took my silver and my gold and carried my finest treasures to your temples. You sold the people of Judah and Jerusalem to the Greeks to remove them far from their own territory. Look, I am about to rouse them up up from the place where you sold them. I will bring retribution on your heads. I will sell your sons and daughters into the hands of the people of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabean, to a distant nation, for the Lord has spoken. Proclaiming this among the nations. Prepare for holy war. Rouse the warriors, and let all the men of war advance and attack. Beat your plows into swords and your pruning knives into spears. Let even the weakling say, I am a warrior. Come quickly, all you surrounding nations. Gather yourselves, bring down your warriors there, Lord. Let the nations be roused and come to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit down to judge all the surrounding nations. Swing the sickle, because the harvest is ripe. Come and trample the grapes, because the winepress is full. The vats overflow, because the wickedness of the nations is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon will grow dark, and the stars will cease their shining. The Lord will roar from Zion and raise his voice from Jerusalem. Heaven and earth will shake, but the Lord will be a refuge for his people, a stronghold for the Israelites. Israel blessed. Then you will know that I am Yahweh your God, who dwells in Zion, my holy mountain. Jerusalem will be holy, and foreigners will never overrun it again. In that day the mountains will drip with sweet wine, and the hills will flow with milk, and the streams of Judah will flow with water, and the spring will issue from the Lord's house, watering the valley of acacias. Egypt will become desolate in Edom, a desert wasteland, because of the violence done to the people of Judah, in whose land they shed innocent blood. But Judah will be inhabited forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. I will pardon their blood guilt, which I have not pardoned, for the Lord dwells in Zion. So, there you go. That is the book of Joel. Very interesting, huh? I think tomorrow we're doing another book, Daniel. Daniel's a longer book. Okay, so and we all know about Daniel. Daniel talks a lot about Revelation in days to come. Okay, but yeah, it has us reading up until the 16th. For 4 days we'll be in Daniel. And I'm not sure if there's more to Daniel or not, but there you have it today. That was Joel. That was interesting. Very short about the swarm of the locusts and the days to come and the retribution that the Lord's going to take. And when he comes, I think he was talking about the Lord coming in the end when he judges people. But you decide. Catch up on any man miss. You want to say you got the whole Bible in a year? He said we are on day 256 now, so we're getting up there towards the end. So end of the month, we're going to start in the New Testament. So that'll be exciting. But give us a like if you think about it. And tomorrow we'll keep going.